In Street Fighter 6, I main Aki with a side of Ken, who was my main previous to Aki's release. I love these characters, and I love this game. I find it quite fun, it's precisely my speed, and there are many things I look forward to seeing play out in the future, be it balance patches, system mechanic updates, or even new DLC characters to come. But unashamedly, one of the reasons that I love this game so much and jive with the speed of the gameplay in the way that I do is because I got my start playing fighting games proper with Ultra Street Fighter 4, and later continued to play Street Fighter 5 a bit as well. A little bit on this channel even if you want to go check out that video for whatever reason. What I mean to say is Street Fighter is the fighting game series for me, and I think it always will be, but some things have changed. See, I play Street Fighter the way anybody else would pre-Street Fighter 6, and that is with 3 punch buttons, 3 kick buttons, and a boatload of motion inputs. However, one way in which I've never played Street Fighter is with Street Fighter 6's brand new modern control scheme. I've seen all sorts of people say this and that about instant supers, easy combos, and everything else, but I've never actually tried it myself. Today, I'll be talking about what it's like moving from a lifetime of classic controls to a brand new control scheme with completely different buttons in the same game. For those of you who don't know, modern controls functions entirely differently to how classic controls do. My regular everyday button setup looks like this: 3 punches, 3 kicks, and a drive impact button in the corner for good measure. For things like grab and parry, I just press the 2 buttons at the same time the way God intended. Drive impact though, I need to react on a dime to, so I've got a button here for that. The best way I could land on my setup for modern controls looks something like this. We've got light, medium, and heavy attack buttons where the punches used to be, and a parry button on the 4th button in the top row. I put the parry button here because I can't exactly hit medium punch and medium kick for parry in this control scheme. We only have 3 attack buttons, so there's only 1 per strength of attack. For the bottom row, I put the new special attack button first so that I'd have easy access to it as possible, and then the grab button, because again, I can't press 2 buttons for it anymore. Then drive impact, and finally, the auto combo button. I would have kept drive impact in the corner where I'm used to having it, but the auto combo button needs to be held down sometimes while pressing other buttons, and honestly having it in the corner where my pinky finger lands feels the most natural to me. This is my new setup for modern controls, and boy did I have some trouble getting used to playing with it. While playing through some of these combo trials on modern controls, I found it very difficult to keep my mind on the correct buttons at all times. Everything is placed weirdly, even if it's the best layout I could wrap my head around, and in order to get certain moves to come out, you actually have to hold down the auto combo button while pressing an attack. Holding down a button while playing a game regularly is something that I've always struggled with. For example, I wanted to like Falk back in Street Fighter 5, but when it comes to holding and releasing buttons at specific times of the game to use my special moves, I just really struggle to wrap my head around it. Turns out that in order to use specific normal attacks in modern controls, you have to do a bit of button holding to get them to come out. I didn't actually know this prior to trying it myself, but I guess overall that's a good thing because you aren't losing out on nearly the amount of your character's moves as you would be if the feature didn't exist. Regardless of my hardships with holding buttons, I pushed through, and I really could see how this would eventually come to feel playing a regular match. The next thing I ran into that was weirdly challenging was the special button. Even though I play a decent amount of Smash Bros with my boys in my spare time, I actually have a lot of trouble when playing Street Fighter to simply press one direction and one button for a special attack. It really got me mixed up in a lot of my combo trial attempts. I'm not saying this isn't an easier control scheme than Classic, and I know for a fact it's a faster way to input a special attack on reaction than Classic, but for me, coming from playing with Classic controls my entire life up to this point, it was really difficult to get used to. And that actually goes for performing supers as well. You gotta use the special button and the heavy attack button together with a single direction input, and the best way I could get myself to understand it with my muscle memory fighting against me was that I basically had to press 2 buttons to meter burn my supers. It's really hard to explain, but having classic muscle memory really works to my detriment as I tried to inch my way into playing a bit of modern controls. Of course, I don't really plan on using modern controls. I was simply experimenting for the sake of seeing what the other side of this game is dealing with to play. I didn't even play any matches thus far because I'd easily look like a fish out of water, but maybe with some more practice I could do some of that in a follow-up video if you'd like. But I gotta say, I kinda get it now. In my opinion, modern controls are definitely the way a new player should be getting into Street Fighter 6 despite the difficulty that I found personally in using it, especially because a lot of new players are coming in playing on controllers. I think this would have been a bit of an easier time for me with the control scheme if I didn't force myself to stay on my arcade stick. Holding down shoulder buttons while pressing the face buttons on my PS4 pad, or being forced to press multiple buttons at the same time in places I don't usually, doesn't seem like it would have been as bad for me to control as how I was tackling it on stick, and that's probably true for a lot of newer players jumping into this game on modern controls. I do think this control scheme excels on controller, but that could just be me and the way that I operate and what I'm comfortable with. Regardless of the hardships I had moving from what I know into what is new, I think that this is a fantastic control scheme. New players have another option to get into a fighting game franchise like Street Fighter now, and even some experienced players have worked to reconfigure their muscle memory towards playing on a whole new control scheme. After trying that myself, I just have to give them mad props. The switch from classic to modern is not easy for me. I'm not here to talk about the ups and downs of each control scheme today, or which is technically better than the other in a competitive scenario. I'm simply here to tell you that I don't think modern is as easy as some people think. Even without the classic muscle memory debuff that I had going into it, I think there really is a lot of depth to playing with these controls that people don't see because you can super or use special moves on reaction much more quickly than classic controls can. If you want to try this for yourself, I highly recommend that you do it. It might throw you for more of a loop than you think, and let me know if you've done this kind of thing before. I want to know whether or not I'm the only one that was this challenged when swapping from one control scheme to the next. I don't know. Maybe you've had a much better time switching to modern or even switching to classic than I did. Let me know in the comments down below. Anyway, that's my time. If you liked the video, like and subscribe and all that jazz because I'll be back in a week doing more content for you guys as I always do. And until then, my name is Myloe, and I'm out.